Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I am great. It's so good to have you. So good to be with you here. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have a great conversation. So why don't you tell everybody who you are and how we know each other,
Okay.
right? And how, with the book, with the chapter we're going to talk about, what it means to you.
Okay. First of all, I'm very excited to be here. I'm extremely proud of you and this incredible book that you've written.
Thank you.
I felt very privileged that I got to read the first draft, and my daughter did as well.
Cool.
So my name's Jacqueline Cohen. I am an executive performance coach and a drama therapist. My company is called Form for Life. I work mainly with entrepreneurs and people that have more of a socially conscious bent towards life, and they're working not only towards a healthier life for themselves, but for their professional life. And I met Mark, I think, over 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And Mark was my trainer to begin. We became best friends because all we did was laugh. And our mornings started at 6 a.m., but we didn't care. And I think after about a year and a half, we realized that we had something special. And we started a company called Safe Training Strategy. And we geared it towards a very interesting demographic. It's for everyone, but it really specializes people that are over the age of 40, that want to work out, but they might have an injury, they don't have a lot of time. And Mark and I came up with this idea, let's film 12 women on a 6-week journey and see what happens. And it was probably one of the most exciting projects I've done. I love doing it with you. And we experienced a lot of different personalities, emotional ups and downs. But in the end, we created this beautiful community of women that now understand how important it is to take care of themselves.
Absolutely.
And carve out wellness in their life. So I'm very, very happy to be here and excited to discuss these 2 chapters.
Awesome. All right, so let's dive in. So the chapter we're going to talk about is Broken Daughters. Yes. So when you read the chapter, I talked about my daughter a lot in the chapter, and then the love that I have for her, and the love that we share. What does the chapter mean? What does it mean to you?
Well, I think the way I experience it is going to be different than most of your readers, because I've actually witnessed you with Ari, your daughter, right. And the bond that you have with your daughter is so exceptional and so beautiful. And to be in the presence of the 2 of you is to think, wow, this is how dads should father their daughters. And I was really impressed with what you wrote, especially the piece about Barack Obama's beautiful book that he wrote for his daughters.
Yeah.
And I've actually read similar experiences that Black fathers have had with their daughters, where they look at a movie or they're reading a book and they're like, Daddy, I want to look like this. I've heard this before, but the way you presented it was so beautiful and you were so gentle with her. Right. And I'm just wondering, because that was a very powerful part of your book.
Yeah.
Has that come up again with Ari since then?
No, it hasn't. She's been calling herself a princess, and she takes pride in being beautiful and being kind and being smart. Like, for her, the big thing is being smart. When she does something, it's all about her being smart, and that makes me happy to know that she values how smart she is. How loving and kind she is with other people. With family members and friends. Her friends. To me, that's amazing. And that makes me feel just happy and satisfied to know that her mom and I were doing a great job, in instilling in her this level of confidence. So,
do you remember that time we did a Zoom? It was during the beginning of COVID. We were working out with a bunch of women, and I think there was one guy, my son-in-law.
Yeah.
And at the end, I was talking to you and Ari, and she was so articulate. And I said, how did you get so smart? And she said, God, of course.
Yeah.
You didn't give you credit.
So now, like, if you ask her how did you get so smart? She's like, myself, my brain.
My
You
brain.
know, yeah. It's all about the brain and how smart the brain is.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. It's amazing. But
What?
you know, talking.
Oh, go ahead.
Let's talk about, you know, I know that there's one thing a lot of, you know, especially African descent women deal with when it comes to beauty, right? You know, there's this classification as, what beautiful, what being beautiful is, right? So you know, I'm sure you know you've heard it before. What is beauty to you, right? Is it just physical? Is it a vibe, right? Is it an attitude? What's beauty to you?
It's interesting. So remember I asked you that question on the couch that time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, beauty to me is confidence and having a sense of yourself so you
Right.
can walk into any room and you feel comfortable because you know who you are. And don't get me wrong, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I wanted to feel sexy and I wanted to be really beautiful. And you know, I was a tomboy growing up, so I didn't get all the attention that my peers did. They were beautiful, curvy, and I looked like I was 11 when I was in high school. So as I developed my mind and developed my skill set, I
Mm-hmm.
realized that what was more enduring was who I was,
Right.
and my intellect, and the way I reflected on things, and the way I listened. And I think that those are the people you remember when you walk away from a situation and say,
Yeah.
wow, that woman, she was really beautiful, or that man, what a beautiful human being he is.
Right. Right.
It's all that inner essence.
Cool. So let's talk. So you know, leading to that internal beauty, right? Let's talk about accountability, which I talk about a lot in the book.
Yes.
You know, and I talk about you know, how a person is responsible for how they act and react to situations that are in their control, right? So, what would you say in your life that you had to take accountability for, as far as your emotions, right? Something that happened where you had to take accountability, whether it was positive or negative, that you feel like, you know, helped you
Mhm.
be the person that you are today.
You know, I actually learned a lot of lessons when I was directing teenagers. I had an autobiographical theater company for many years, and I worked solely with urban teenagers. And they taught me a lot. And for the most part, I stayed pretty calm and collected. That was my role. I was an educator, a director. But there were a few occasions where these kids just got under my skin, and they were tough. They'd show up late,
Yeah.
they'd be eating, they'd be loud. And I remember I lost my temper one day. I was at a final rehearsal, and everyone was like, whoa, Jackie's out of control. And I was like, whoa. And one of the kids stood up for me,
Okay.
even though I had to be accountable for losing my cool. He said, you know what, Jackie, you really believe in us. You believe in our show. He said, my dad falls for everything in life because he stands for nothing. And you're teaching us to stand for something.
Right.
And even though I felt bad about yelling, he took it as, hey, everybody, wake up. Let's come together. We've got a show to put on. And so I feel we all have to be accountable, and
Right.
we also have to respect the fact that we're going to make mistakes and give people another chance.
Right. Right. Totally. Totally. Great. So let's talk, you know, as a therapist, right? Let's talk about, you know, let's say, you know, like you said, we all, you know, we get hurt, right? We all get hurt sometimes. So what advice would you, you know, give somebody on breaking, not necessarily generational pain, right? But how to embrace, you know, vulnerability, and you know, and you know, learn to let go of, you know, whatever pain, whatever bad experiences they had. Like, what advice would you give?
That's a really good question, and I know you focus on that in the book,
Right.
and you're asking me this personally. But I hear a lot of people talk about this dilemma about forgiveness and letting go. And the one thing I've learned, and it was probably over the past year, I lost my father in May to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was a tough guy. he was an alcoholic. He had a bad temper, but deep down, he really loved us. And he always made me feel like I could do anything in the world. He had the ability. But I did have some anger and resentment for the way he raised me and let me down a lot. There was a lot of disappointment. And so if I were going to share what I do and what I've done, I would have to say, you sit back and you say to yourself, that person has their own history.
Yeah.
That person has their own pain. My father dealt with things that I probably will never understand because I wasn't there in 1941.
Yeah.
So if you step back and you say, I don't need to take that personally. What I need to do is let him have his story. Let him have his history even.
Yeah.
So I was able to forgive my dad and move on. And I really remember the wonderful times we had together. And I think it's a beautiful thing to do, not only for them, but mostly for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's crazy you say that. I talk about that in the forgiveness, Profess and Forgive chapter in the book. For me, when it comes to healing and forgiveness, I had to learn to empathize, with others, right? Because if you don't, not necessarily, you don't have to put yourself, you're not going to be able to put yourself in their shoes, right? But understanding that, they're humans too, right? They're hurt too. You know what I mean? So understanding that they whatever they may have gone through, they're hurting. If you can understand that they are, or they've been hurt, then you can forgive them for what they did. And in turn, you'll be able to forgive yourself. You know what I mean? So I feel like the most important thing for me, I had to learn to forgive myself first. And then I was able to forgive everybody else, because I wanted what was best for me. I wanted to feel, my healthiest. So I had to let go of certain things. I had to forgive myself for things that I did to myself, like for things that I allowed myself to be part of. And that way I was able to, just relate to other people in their pain and just, forgive them for whatever, they may have done, whether it was to me or, or to anybody else. You know what I mean? So I love what you said about your dad.
I think empathy is probably the most important thing we can give another human being. And
Absolutely.
It's more important than what you do for a living, where you live, what you're wearing. Empathy is the great connector.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Because you were really personal. This is a very personal memoir style book.
Yeah.
And you shared stories about your family. And I'm wondering, how was it for them to read this book and receive all this information and know it came from your heart?
My family is very supportive. As painful as, the past may have been, we communicate, we have conversations. I talk to my mom. We have a great relationship, and it took understanding, really, and it took accepting, things that, whether it was good or bad, right? But we were all humans. We were hurting, and we came together and healed. We help each other heal, in a way that, that was just magical. You know what I mean? So it's just having this moment that you can heal together, and then just create a healthy relationship with one another has just been fulfilling and rewarding at the same time. So yeah, so I mean they're very supportive. My little brothers, I love them, love my dad, love my mom, and just to have them is a blessing, honestly.
I'm so happy to hear that, because
Absolutely.
one of the reasons I was so drawn to you wasn't because, you had the best body in the gym and you were the best trainer. It was really because you always walked in the room with your heart first.
Right.
And when we used to teach privates together or classes together,
yeah,
here you were, this incredibly strong, intelligent man when it came to our physique and how to get stronger. So we always said, work smarter before you work harder, always work smarter.
Yeah.
But the beauty of what you believed in is begin the class, make sure everyone feels safe, And at the end of the class, let everyone just lie on the floor, find themselves again, get back to being and healing again.
Right.
And I don't think many trainers have that philosophy, but that's who you are. And it definitely comes across in the book that healing is where we need to be as a community.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always been an advocate for mental health and being your best self emotionally. And I've always been aware of, the connection between your mind and your body, right? If you don't feel your best self, you're not going to be your best self.
No.
You know what I mean? So you have to have it first in your mind, and then it connects with your body. And that way you feel wholly, and that way you can share your whole self with others. You know what I mean? So absolutely. Well, thank you, Jackie, for being here. Thank you for being part of this. I love you. You're amazing.
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Next book. I'm writing it. It's going to be amazing. Thank you. Say hi to Josh. Say hi to Katie. And I'll talk to you soon. All right?
Buy his book. It's amazing.
Yes. Hi, Jackie.
Bye, honey. Is she going to let me out or do I go out?